Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk about why trying to change your partner is actually killing your relationship. So, for those who don't know me, I am Joanna Kleinman, licensed psychotherapist and #1 international best-selling author of Dethroning Your Inner Critic and the host of the Dethroning Your Inner Critic podcast. So, I've been married for 23 years, and my inner critic has been quite the troublemaker in my relationships at different times in my life. See, when your inner critic mind is ruling your life, it sees life through the lens of what's wrong, what's not good enough, what needs to be fixed or changed or improved. So your inner critic is always looking for how to fix and change something about either you or someone else or some circumstance in your life so that you can feel content. So not only does the voice of your inner critic criticize you, your inner critic also judges and criticizes other people in your life. So in fact, your inner critic wreaks havoc by trying to control how someone else acts towards you, making them responsible for how you feel. Now, let's review one of the basic principles of dethroning your inner critic. It's the thoughts in your mind that determine how you feel, not the circumstances of your life. It is not up to someone else to determine whether you feel loved or valued or important or respected. Those feelings are determined by your thoughts. And if your inner critic is ruling your mind, then your thoughts are the old, habitual, conditioned thoughts that have been floating around in your mind since you were little. When your inner critic is in power, it's so easy to get hurt or angry or offended by what somebody else says or does. But when you learn how to separate yourself from your inner critic mind, now you are in control of choosing your thoughts. You now have a choice about how you're going to think. And remember, how you think determines how you feel, which determines how you act. And your inner critic thoughts convince you that it's actually possible to control how another person acts. That's a total illusion. And as much as you try, you have absolutely no ability to control another person. But in an attempt to control our partner, our inner critic will convince us to be angry, critical, manipulative, or upset with our partner, rather than choosing love. In other words, when we get upset with something that our partner says or does, it's because we're allowing our inner critic thoughts to convince us of something. Now, maybe your partner did or said something that made your inner critic feel that you were unimportant or unloved or criticized or disrespected. So remember, the automatic thoughts of your inner critic are geared towards trying to fix or control or manage or perfect either ourselves or something in the external world so that we don't feel pain. So that old conditioned brain thinks that other people can either add to or take away from what you have and who you are. But at the end of the day, what you have and who you are is entirely a function of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your action. Your mind has been conditioned to have expectations about how your partner is supposed to be. So when your partner doesn't meet these expectations, your inner critic mind will get angry and offended and hurt and resentful and upset because you feel unloved and unimportant and maybe not good enough. And when we feel that way, we feel justified in taking our love away. We feel justified in being moody or having an attitude or being cold and distant. We forget what's truly important to us in the relationship. Now, what's truly important is creating love and connection. But our inner critic convinces us that what is important is to be right and to make our partner wrong. We aren't in touch with what we really want. So the most powerful life that you can live is when you know the difference between you and your inner critic, the real you. The authentic self is the part of you that gets revealed when you stop allowing your inner critic to rule your mind. If you want love and connection in your relationship, you have to be loving and connected. Think about some of your closest relationships. Now, you love that person and that person loves you because you are cultivating a loving and connected relationship with that person. You might call them, they call you, you're both interested in each other and the details of your life. You might make plans to stay connected, and our culture perpetuates this idea that after decades of marriage, it's normal to just coexist. It's normal to just have no physical or emotional intimacy. We hear this from our girlfriends, from our moms, from movies or books or TV. It's just expected that this is how relationships go. So if you want something different, you have to go against the grain. You have to not buy into the automatic thoughts of your inner critic. And you have to be willing to choose love, even if you're upset, even if you're frustrated. You have to be willing to take 100% ownership for the quality of your relationship. You have to stop trying to change or fix or manage your partner and start managing your mind. Because in case you haven't noticed, it does not work to try and change someone else. It doesn't work to allow your inner critic to manipulate or guilt or coerce or convince or enroll or guilt or shame someone else in order to try to get them to do what you want. And I hear a lot of people ask me, well, what about if you're with someone who's toxic? Okay, here's the thing. Some of you are staying in very unhealthy relationships because you've been trying to change or fix the other person for a really long time. When you focus on someone else to make you feel the way that you want to feel, you lose yourself. So the unhealthy dynamic becomes so familiar to you that you'd rather stay in it because at least it's something that you know. Now remember, your inner critic tries to protect you from fear. She hates the unknown. So you've been allowing your inner critic to convince you to drift through life rather than creating a life that's in line with your authentic self. Your inner critic will have you remain in a toxic relationship out of fear. So if you're with a toxic person and you keep trying to change that person so that he or she won't be toxic, your inner critic has been ruling your life. Your authentic self knows that you deserve better. So remember, your inner critic has been conditioned to focus on what you don't want. Choosing to focus on what we do want allows us to use a new mind to create it, rather than using our old conditioned mind that's going to try the same things over and over and still get the same result. That's the definition of insanity. The dynamic in your relationships depend on how you are being, not just what you do or say. So notice if you're being loving, connected, appreciative, grateful. And if you're not, consciously choose it. Your inner critic will scream about this. Well, what about them? Why don't they need to change? And the short answer to this is it's not about them, it's about you. Here's what I've been saying time and time again. And this is both in my own marriage and in my work with thousands of people as a psychotherapist for the past 25 years. Changing the way you are being changes the other human being in front of you. Be willing to pay attention to how you think, how you feel, and how you act when your inner critic is in the driver's seat of your life. Because this has been so conditioned in you, it's like the air you breathe. You don't even think about it. So becoming aware of your inner critic by observing her in action is the key. Because you can't go to work on that which you don't see in the first place. Where is there a vicious cycle showing up in your life where your inner critic thoughts cause you to take your love away, which has your partner showing up in ways towards you that you don't like? I encourage you to visit this question daily. Remember to look for what you already love and appreciate about your partner, instead of what your inner critic says he or she needs to fix or change. So the question to ask yourself every day is, what would love do?